Yeah, I mean, there are different frustrations. I mean, when I first started practicing as a lawyer in the United States and really sort of asking questions about data, it was everything. You could go into a corporation, you could go to an individual and say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z, and I got it all. When I moved to Brussels and started working out of Belgium and had my first exposure to European sensibilities around data and data protection and data privacy, it became less about gathering everything and became much more of a targeted exercise. I'm one of the very few people that saw benefit in GDPR because I now have clients that know where their data is. I now have clients that when I say, where can I find so-and-so's information, I don't know answers. I get very clear and concise answers as to where their data now lies. We're now moving into a new paradigm when it comes to data where in historical cases that I've worked on, I was targeted and measured. We're now dealing with a situation where AI systems work better when they have more information. So we're moving into an era that we're trying to get away from targeted measured approaches and into a sort of larger collection. Now that will benefit the US style. As I said before, everything goes in terms of data collection there. So we're going to have to figure out a way to still get those important data points that are necessary to drive these systems. And that might be a bit of a struggle in the EU because of these other competing regulations that prevent us from getting the information necessary to drive these systems.
So we don't, it seems to me that all the big AI systems, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't in Europe and they're all external, all the big ones, is that correct? Are there any really, really good European AI systems?
Mistral AI.
No, not. Yeah. It's not only Mistral. I mean, again, most people now are looking to Mistral because they are looking to generative AI and LLMs. Again, this is only just a part of the story. I mean, there was, again, if you would have asked me about LLM a few months ago, I would have told you a lot of hype. I think there was something behind. I think it has changed the way of thinking. So, but in a nutshell, what is it is when you are typing, for example, on your Apple or your iPhone, it's a predictive system. It just predicts what is the next word. But the difference is that it is a much more powerful because it has been trained on a larger model, hence the way, large model. But what we came up with, and I think what it has changed, so I was just going to come on explaining that this is only part of the game. Large models and generative things, it has changed probably something. Maybe what we have learned is that it tells us, maybe guys, you have been looking into the wrong way how to look into languages. We've been considering languages mainly as a structure, as syntax, grammar, and semantics. Now actually large language models say, hey, what does it mean semantics? Actually, everything is just probably a question of frequencies and statistics. And if this is true for languages, our natural language, maybe it's true for other type of languages, music, images, etc. And I think this is really, it is. There are currently models into generative and we start to see things. The business of prediction, it is a probabilistic, and I'm sorry. So, and this is what you are learning, and probably it's question completely the concept of semantic. That's the first thing. The second thing is, that's more about ChatGPT, is the conversational. But this is more a question of user interface, and it's telling you that the word is becoming more and more conversational. The future is conversational, including for coding, for development, for whatever. These are, for me, the two aspects. Having said that, large language model, generative AI is just a part of the game. There are other type of models, other type of techniques, and some techniques are actually even much more advanced than LLMs. I'm just going to mention one of them is what we call causal inference. Don't forget that actually when we are talking about machine learning or even large language, these are statistical learning. So statistics can show you correlation, can give you things, this thing is related. It cannot explain, it cannot give you causality. And if we are moving toward more causal, especially, for example, for treatment, for stuff, that's explainable AI. And actually, Europe is probably heading the game here.
So are these regulations, and then if there's any questions, let me know, is the law going to help our homegrown AI, or is it going to hinder it?
it will. We say in French, an answer from a Normand, it's a region in France. Like it can be, it cuts both ways. It will, for certain parts, it will facilitate because you'll have a clear framework. You may agree or not agree with it. You may agree with the ethical decisions or not. But you have rules and you need to abide by them, and they're sort of clear. So that will help business. The cost of this all will not help, that's for sure. So it will cut both ways. Maybe the fact that everyone doing business in Europe is subject to this regulation is sort of, you know, at least something we can hang on, but it really gives an advantage to bigger corporations than small companies. That's for sure. I think the game here is, as Radwan is saying, and Daniel, is data. How do you access the data? That's a very important thing. In Europe, we have strict regulations on personal data, but now what we also see is the non-personal data. And this is also a space which becomes to be regulated in the EU. Non-personal data, all this wealth of data that are, as Daniel, you were saying, they don't, you know, they're costly. We just leave them sit there and not do anything about it. The AI will be able to make sense of this data and use them in a productive way. So access to data is, I think, for me, a great question, which is not directly regulated. So access to data is really the key thing going forward.
Wonderful. Are there any questions for this team? Yeah, Rich.
Is the EU the only place that's looking to regulate AI?
Okay, so if we're talking about regulation, the EU is the first region in the world to have regulated. Were they the first to think about it? No. In the United States, we've had a code of conduct, presidential decree of Joe Biden, October 2023, but it's a presidential decree with a code of conduct. And you have all the tech giants, all the GAFAM and others, they have joined, well, they were incentivized to join. I don't think they had really the choice not to join, but this is the way the Americans do it. A code of conduct without a sanction, but an agreement that you will be abiding by this set of rules, like ethical rules, which go towards the same direction as the EU. The only difference is that they're not binding, and you do not have like penalties